Well, hello, happy Wednesday, everybody. Reaching out to my dragon family here on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. I know that most of the world doesn't celebrate that, but here in the United States, everybody's looking for a big, fun holiday weekend, a lot gathering with family or going off and doing things that they just feel like doing. So wishing you all a beautiful, relaxing Thanksgiving weekend as we dive into that. Thought I would come up. I had a great question come in by email, continuing our discussion that was the last live on the Lyran and Dragon hybrid lineages. So if you didn't hear that one, go back, capture that one. It's both in the archives here in the For the Love of Dragons group on Facebook. That's capital LOVE For the Love of Dragons. And on the YouTube channel, the at Invoke Healing International is where the Dragon YouTube playlist is for all that I do. Very easy to find all the subjects. There's over 400 videos there, you guys. I was shocked when I realized and hit that 400 mark because it's been so many years in the making, coming on every week and having these great questions from you guys, having different discussions. So it's a great resource. Go find it and listen back to that one if you want a little more background to what we're going to discuss today. Just to touch briefly on it, there was a question about having hybrid aspect or multiple aspects in our higher self-structure and what that can look like. And so based on that, the gentleman who had originally asked the question, once he listened to the live, said, there's more to contemplate there for me. So if I have these two Lyran and Dragon aspects, and as we discussed, they can both be incarnational aspects. You can have both Dragon and Lyran as like a lineage hybrid on your higher soul structure level, where both are present. But his question was, when we have those, so whatever your higher aspects are, maybe it's angelic, maybe it's unicorn. I got to encounter another unicorn energy yesterday in session. Some are solar energies, some are star beings. It doesn't really matter what your energetic lineage is for the response to this question, because what he was wondering is if we have both dragon and feline aspects, as we come into those, as we really connect with our higher self and merge into those aspects, are there external, would people notice a difference in us? So we're going along and we're our normal self and we're on a path, and then all of a sudden we integrate this dragon aspect or this feline aspect, or as I said before, it could be angelic, it could be unicorn, whatever that energetic source point is for you. Does that have an external observable change or shift to your human aspect that becomes noticeable to others around you? Like, would they look at you different? Would they feel like there's something different about you? And it's an interesting thing to contemplate, but you really have to focus on what changes externally reflects internal changes. So there would be some, but not so much that you're carrying more dragon energy or you're carrying more feline energy or more angelic energy. That might seep through. But really, I think the most noticeable things, because he went on to ask, well, would it be similar to like when you have a walk-in aspect and knowing that it is possible for your own higher self to walk in, that you can have aspects of your own self that are higher vibrationally than your human self be your walk-ins. There are also walk-ins that are totally other beings that you have an agreement with, that they can take over your body and you get to go on and do something else and they can inhabit that. I don't go a lot into that, but his question on that was really like an awareness of this higher self aspect coming in. So anytime we are connecting with, and I think this is the real crux of it, when we're connecting with our higher self, the only shifts that become visible externally are those that happen internally, as in how much more centered we become, stabilized, happy, joyous, in our element, easily making decisions, very clear on our path, what we're doing, who we're spending time with, what we're spending time doing, the things we want to surround ourselves with energetically. Those are the most noticeable shifts, and they're going to be part of your journey all along, because any time that you're moving forward vibrationally, and you don't even have to know what your higher soul aspect is at that point. In very early on in our journey, we are continually making shifts, coming into our highest reflection of ourself, coming into our highest blueprint of what we came here to do and to be. And we have those awakening moments. We get on a tangent and a different path, and things start to come in synchronously to guide us towards maybe a new kind of meditation, or guide us towards shamanic journey work, or working with certain practitioners or certain healing techniques. That all of those things become part of our external journey because of that internal shift. And so I wouldn't feel that. So when I shifted to Dragon, I think the most noticeable thing for other people is just how clear I became in what I was talking about, the knowing that I have on information, my ease at being comfortable in my body, and that declaration of who I be, living who I be, being really, what's the word I'm looking for? Unabashedly living in my choices, living in who I be. And that's true for everyone, whether you're stepping into your full dragon, as I said, your full angelic, or even just making subtle shifts in your path forward. I don't think there are times, actually, admittedly, where when I'm speaking in lives particularly, or when I'm teaching, that my dragon self becomes very, very present, and you can see or feel my eyes shift, and you can feel a transmission coming through. That's more of a transference of energy now, the way it's shifted. So those kind of subtleties that show up periodically would be noticeable, but they wouldn't be noticeable to the average guy on the street, or somebody that's just sort of haphazardly in your life, maybe a coworker that you see here and there. But those around you are going to notice. Those that are in your close proximity, or if you're doing stuff like this where you are in, like myself, where you're teaching and speaking, and that aspect comes through really clearly when your energy shifts into that bigger aspect of yourself. So that was a great question by George, and hopefully that gave some insight for everybody on that general topic. And I think it's interesting, his take on, well, would it be similar to how a higher self walks in? Well, what is it like externally when you have a higher self walk in? What do people notice? With a higher self walk in, I don't think they notice much other than the same kind of things I just talked about. Whereas when there's a walk in that is maybe another galactic being that has stepped in, and I do know a couple, I didn't know them well before my work with them, so I couldn't really notice the shifts because I'm not around them on a regular basis. But I would say that that would be a very noticeable one in demeanor, in response. Typically in a walk-in, those beings aren't fully aware of how the earth plane really operates. And so there's a transition of maybe the family recognizing like you're not acting yourself, or maybe your food tastes change dramatically overnight. You don't have solid memory of earlier stuff, those kinds of things. But yeah, I think overall it just becomes that knowing or recognition that energetically shows up to those around you of how much more in yourself and clear you are energetically as a being. It's not muddled energy. It's not somebody else's energy. You're not using masks or layers of structure around you anymore that aren't yours. That for me is the biggest difference. And that's really the goal of what we're doing. My work has been about getting people to step into who they be, predominantly with dragons. Up until this last group, I've had groups of dragons and dragon riders and everybody associated with dragons, dragon shepherds. But this time, my last quantum flight group has proven themselves to be a very unique set of beings that has come in for a very specific energetic purpose and come together for that. And it's been really eye-opening for me to get to experience with them in my readings, much higher field of potential sets of beings or energetic formats of beings that I had never been introduced to before. It's amazing to me how many different makeups there are energetically. And I'll just throw this out there as something for you guys to contemplate, because we typically focus on what we know as form, what is easy for us to recognize. And like myself, I know that I'm dragon, but even that has, as I open up to the higher fields of potential, is showing me what is beyond that I wasn't able already to see vibrationally before now, or before the last few months, where this higher aspect is really revealing. But in setting the stage for you of that form, like we're used to saying, you know, I'm a star being, or I'm a dragon, or I'm an angelic, or I'm a light worker from Lyra, one of the feline kingdoms. Those are forms. Those are energetics where we can identify and recognize something within that it holds a form. It holds a structure that we recognize. It's an energetic, it's a geometric, and so that's what we know. We put a definition or a name to it. We put a label to it. So what's been fascinating for me is to start being introduced to beings that are maybe the antithesis of form. They're the space in between form. They're the backdrop, like matrix dragons. It's still a dragon, but it's a different kind. It's not one that we associate with, say, the Pleiadians or the gold, silver, copper from Orion. They are backdrop dragons. They're the energy in the spaces in between. And for a long time, I didn't even realize that was there. And so getting to encounter these beings has been a fascinating journey into all kinds of structures, all kinds of overflow structures that go way beyond our normal parameters of what our brain might capture. And I just want to open you that field of possibility. So matrix dragons, chaos dragon, even though I'm still putting a dragon label on it, it's really a field of energy that is behind pushing creation energy forward. Solar field energy, not necessarily dragon or anything else, but solar field energy. Trying to think of some of the others that I've had recently. Definitely unicorn, but beyond that, there's what would be behind that? Okay, I had hybrid energy. This was fascinating. That was part dragon, part feline, part Lyran, and part star energy. Not star being, but star energy. That was an interesting one. A three-way hybrid of energies. And another one, I've encountered so many recently. I'm trying to bring through good examples for you. It was another like that, and I'm just going to create one right now that is very similar because I'm certain that it exists. A being that is, the other one was starlight, star essence. Dragon, feline, starlight. This one is solar creation energy, and let's call it Lyran. So feline being with this solar energy. So it's interesting when you start getting into those larger fields of vibration, because you wouldn't necessarily put consciousness to it. You wouldn't necessarily say, oh, that's a field of consciousness that I recognize and it's a being that can incarnate. But it is. If it holds a framework of energy that was in a field of creation, then it has that potential to express in whatever forms it might want to, even though its origin point doesn't have a form per se. So just a little food for thought there. There's all kinds of beautiful stuff. As I mentioned to you guys, I've been working on the second book. It's not going to be specifically focused on dragons. It's really about our ascension process and all of the keys and codes that the dragons have brought in for that are going to assist everybody. But it gives quite a few points that are going to stretch the field of potential and stretch your field of possibility into remembering those greater fields of reality that we've been veiled from, that we have not had access to. And the dragons have brought in an amazing amount of information. So I've been diving into that and having a lot of fun. And I'm projecting sometime, hopefully by next spring, to have it out 3/4 of the way into the right. It's still got to create all the diagrams and all that stuff. And I know I'll focus on it coming into the new year and getting it formatted for a publication. But it's going to be taking the lid off, quite literally, of how you see your reality and the structure and really pull us into our expansion. So I'm super excited about it. All right, well, I'm going to wish you guys a beautiful Thanksgiving weekend for those that celebrate, especially those in the U.S., whether you're doing a traditional thing or just having a nice 4 days off to have some time to yourself, recoup your energy, get a reset button going, whatever. I think a lot of people need it right now with Mercury retrograde. There's been a lot of challenges with electronic systems and things lately that always push us into a little bit of chaos. Helps when we can have a reset moment and just sort of drop into like, all right, I got nothing I got to do. So I'm hoping you have that, that you're not working like crazy over the next 4 days, and maybe get some beautiful downtime, whether it's with family or just on your own. All right, we'll see you guys sometimes next week, most likely. Until then, wishing you a beautiful one and sending a big dragon hug. Bye for now.